This is Löcknitz in northeastern Germany. It is approximately 24 kilometers from Szczecin, making it around 20 kilometers or thereabouts from the current Polish border. If you go down this road here, around 16 kilometers, you'll get to Pasewalk. It was at Pasewalk where Hitler was in 1918. He'd been moved there to a military hospital where he had lost his sight, and it was there where he was when he found out that the war had been lost. A military chaplain, a fine old gentleman, if I can remember Mein Kampf, what Hitler actually wrote, describing the person who actually told him about it. Hitler then lost his sight again, probably it was psychosomatic or some psychiatric condition. I can't talk about such things, so I don't really know anything about it, but he lost his sight, and there it was that Hitler decided, as he wrote in Mein Kampf, I would become a politician. In 1935, the building where Hitler had been in Pasewalk was destroyed. It was knocked down, and a shrine was built. The Nazis built these shrines all over the place. I think shrine is the correct word. And there the slogan on it was, I will become a politician. As I turn around here, we have the results of Hitler becoming a politician. This building here, there was a shop, as far as I can start and see it, but part of the shop, it was a prayer room. This was given over to the Jewish community, and now this was attacked on Crystal Night. Now, at the end of the First World War, there's 37 Jews living in this town. Around 2,400 people lived here. From the First World War, there are 79 names of the dead on the war memorial. You can see that in a different video. And of those 79 men, we've also got to add, in my opinion, 36 who were so badly injured they were incapable of doing any work. So effectively, you've got 10% of the male population gone. And you can imagine the effect that that has on the town. Not only that, of those that did come back, many of them have been wounded in other ways as well. For a town of this size, that's going to have a major effect on everything. This town, though, was largely communist. The communist way, there's a number of industries here, but we also find places like Greifswald, where there was a university. The students from there noted for being on the extreme right, and those students, a couple of those students have actually done videos on. One, Herbert Langer, he was too young to have actually been here in the days of struggle, to use the Nazi terminology, but he was the person who then went on to be the first commandant at Kulmhof, Heumen ad Nerem. It was he who used the gas chamber for the first time in Poznan, and the gassing vans may have had something to do with his invention, but he was one of those who was using them and continued to use them, even though a static gas chamber would have made more sense. Germany has a lot of things called Stolpersteine, the stumbling block, where people who are victims of the Nazi system are remembered. I'll read you this bit here. So remembering the Jewish community of Locknitz and what happened to them during Kristallnacht in 1938. Adolf Schwarz-Weiß was born in 1877, September 1877. He was married to Rosa. She was born in 1889, so the same year as Hitler. Although I must point out the Yad Vashem, when I checked it there, said she was born 1884. Whatever. They had a daughter, Esther, who was born, if I remember rightly, 1920 or thereabouts. So this was his business. He had a shop here, and presumably it was the upstairs room, which was used as a prayer hall. Sorry, here, not there. And he stayed. I mean, half of the Jews living here in Löcknitz had left before Kristallnacht, 9th November 1938, but he stayed. And his building was attacked on Kristallnacht. Now the SA and the SS attacked a number of communist places. They'd done that. Once they released onto the Jewish population, which was by then no more than 20 people still living here. And so I presume his business was destroyed, the prayer room was destroyed, and sometime in 1939 he was forced to go to Szczecin as it then was, Szczecin as it is now. And from there, in 1940, he was deported to Bełżyce. Bełżyce is in the Lublin region, and I'm going to walk the other way actually. I think you might see some older houses. So Bełżyce, there was a ghetto, but somehow he was sent from Bełżyce to Majdanek, where he was murdered, as was his wife and daughter, in July of 1942. Now, sorry, I'm doing a walk around video here, so it's I might have forgotten things, which can happen, but should that be the case, then in the description below I'll correct myself. Now at Bełżyce, which was I get the impression that the place was forgotten by the Nazis, because in 1943 there were still Jews living there, and they turned up and shot them. It was one of the last places in the Lublin region where Jews were still living. After the war, around 10 people returned, Jewish people returned, and they found people living in their houses, which was understandable really. People had been displaced by the war, or they found abandoned homes, so they moved into them. They got the police, the communist police, the MO, Milicja Obywatelstwa, and they complained. Policeman said something along the lines of, well, we'll sort this out here and now, and he murdered the Jews. And there was one person hanged for that, but there was another person involved, appears to have been involved in the killing. And I went round there. No, this is going back now more than 20 years. About 22, 23 years ago. His wife was still there, and all I could do was make an ugly face at her. What else could I do? Because it wasn't her fault. Anyway, Now I read, this is the main street, and so I talked about the First World War. Now one thing about this place is that electricity came here in 1913. So you've got something which would have been great for the inhabitants, having electricity and all the benefits that brings, just lights and everything else, power. But at the same time, you think the following year we had this terrible war and the terrible consequences for this town. Now this fighting was nowhere near here, nowhere near. This not so far from Berlin here, really, I suppose. But in the Second World War, the front actually did pass through. In fact, 28th of April 1945, the Red Army called on the local commander to surrender, and it was around that time it was captured. You can see there are lots of here it's clearly, there's some date up there, 1912. Now, one thing I read when I was looking through historical things relating to this place was that there's a lot of half-timbered houses here. But the half-timbered houses, a lot of them went up in smoke. This is in like the first decade of the 20th century, and it was suggested, I'm trying to read between the lines, suggesting that this was done deliberately so that people get new homes. I mean, a half-timbered house for us seems like, oh yeah, great, I like living in a place like that. But for them then, maybe it wasn't as comfortable as a home made out of brick. Okay, there's a bit of a wind here, so I think I'm going to have to stop. I hope you found that interesting. The Holocaust is my specialist subject in history, and so if you are interested in knowing more about it, then you might want to subscribe. I upload every Tuesday and every Friday at 2000 hours my time. I'm based in Germany and in Poland. So this is obviously the border area. So this thing here. So Lubieszyn's in Poland, and they have these markets, the border markets. I was surprised to see that this was still as such. Now it says there, travel free, Europe's #1 border shop. There's no benefit. You can't do that within the European Union. For example, you can buy duty free in the Canary Islands, but the Canary Islands aren't part of the European Union. So it's not true. There's no. There may be things which are cheaper in Poland, although to be quite honest, they seem to be all German products. So I very much doubt that they are. Right, so to return to that, so that's my specialist area. So if you're interested to know more about that sort of thing, then you might want to subscribe. And so thanks for watching, and all the best from me in Germany. Oh, and there's the castle from Löcknitz. I think I'll go and see that next.